Hello ladies, welcome back to Super's Farm. So today what I'm going to do is share with you my method to the madness, if you will, on how I start seeds. I am bundled up today in my shed because it is cold. I do have two heaters going, but please forgive me, I am freezing. I am not accustomed to the cold weather, and so yes, I will be bundled up during this video. However, let's get started. So I do have a video that I recorded last week that I will probably upload, a while from now, on very closely the same things, but I wanted to just do a specific video for your group. Certainly, I hope you're following me on YouTube, so you can always glean some extra nuggets there, but this will be specifically for your group. So of course, we're going to be using the How to Plant a Garden, Super's Farm Garden Planner. So you can go ahead and pull that out if you don't have it open yet. And I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see how I do this, and then we'll just kind of act as though we are in the same classroom and learning how to plan starting seeds. All right, ladies, so let's go through our planner. The first page we have here, of course, is going to be our 2025 calendar, and this could be a quick reference to some important dates that we are going to really talk about in just a little bit. I do have calendars throughout the planner, so these little tabs here, I purchased these from Office Depot, so you can use some additional tabs and just really mark up your planner as you need to, so that it could be a really good reference for you. So our first sort of worksheet is going to be this Garden Vision worksheet, and let's take some time to talk about this. As I mentioned, we do have tabs for each season. You have 4 tabs, and the planner repeats itself after each section. So go ahead, and if you're going to be growing this next season, which will be our spring season, let's go ahead and write that in, as well as the year 2025. So what are some of our goals in the garden? When you think about your garden, what do you envision? I always envision a beautiful space. Full of abundance. I also envision my garden spaces as a place of refuge and rest. Ironically, you would think of a garden as a place of work and toil, but it doesn't have to be that way. Your garden can literally relieve you at the end of a stressful day. You know, studies have shown that when you put your hands and your feet in the dirt and you connect with the earth, there is something that happens on a biological level. So, quite literally, you can realign your electrical energy by reconnecting with the earth. The electrons from the Earth's surface can spread into your body and can create an antioxidant environment, which ultimately can help in the formation of healing any damaged tissue. So gardening is not just for what we initially think of as growing food or growing flowers or growing something beautiful, which it definitely is that. But gardening can quite literally heal you from the inside out. Gardening is more than just growing food. All right, let's not get all, let's not wax poetically about that, but you know, I certainly can. So, of course, what do you envision for your garden? Of course, you envision, you know, the food and the flowers, but I want you to go a little bit beyond that. I want you to really tap into even some spiritual reasons as to why you want a garden. So here you will put some pictures of any garden spaces that you find. You can go to Google and or magazines or anywhere like that and print those out. So our next page here, my growing zone information, how to plant a seed. And we did talk about this during your workshop. And I gave you the growing zones and the first and last frost dates for your area. But if you didn't get a chance to write that down, what you can do is go to Google and Google, what is my USDA growing zone? And you put in your zip code. This is my zip code here in Warren, Texas. And so USDA has recently changed the USDA maps, and I previously was 8B, but recently within the last year they've upgraded us to a 9A, which I think is quite ironic now that we are just experiencing our first freeze and it's been a week long. So we might be going back to 8B. But nevertheless, my last frost date, my average last frost date is March 18th. So this is the date that we're going to keep in mind if we're going to be starting seeds or planting out transplants. Next here, I just want you to start writing down everything that you want to grow in your garden. From what you might think is the, far-fetched to the most crazy thing, just write it down. It's okay. We do want to focus on and hone it in to the things that we like to eat. As I've stated, you want to grow what you eat. But I think there's a little fun and a little adventure and also picking those things that you might not be so familiar with. So I have my sketch here. And I just sort of think about I have multiple garden spaces. So in my in-ground garden, of course, those are going to be like my row crops, my greenhouse, and then what I call my hot mess garden or my raised bed garden. And I even sketch it out. This will be transferred over to my other garden journal. But this is just giving you an example of some of the things you can list. So what I would list here are, of course, my herbs. My herbs are going to be roselle, which is the hibiscus that we grow here, blue butterfly pea flower, okra, tomato, potato, jalapeno, green beans, and I have here in my greenhouse, and so you could even come in with a different color if you have different growing spaces. It's up to you. I'll put fennel here, radish, and greens. I'll put leafy greens because I'm going to need to definitely expound on the greens. Oh no, you know what? When I put the greens in the greenhouse, those are turnip greens. Turnip greens and mustard greens. Why not just throw some collards in there too? So this will be the greenhouse, and we can even denote that. Okay. So that would cover all of my in-ground garden, what I want to grow so far. Of course, this is going to grow. I definitely need to add some flowers in here. Last year I grew sunflowers and gomphrena in the in-ground garden. So let me get a different color pen. And are you seeing, let me move this down a little bit. You can see the end of my page there. There we go. So for my flowers, we're gonna grow sunflowers, gomphrena, and I think I could probably tuck in some more, but right now that's all that comes to mind. All right, ladies, so if you hear the rain on the shed for, it's just raining. It's cold and raining here in Texas. I can't imagine what you guys are dealing with up there in Michigan and in the north side of Houston. But anyway, so once you have written down all of the wonderful things that you'd love to grow in your garden, then we're going to start to actually write down the dates that are going to be associated. I'm warming up some tea. Of course, I'm the tea lady. And you had two pages. That half a page that we were just looking at, and then you flip your notebook over, your journal over, and you have a full page. And you can always take one out from another season and make a copy if you even have, you need more space. So let's take a look at those seeds that I sent you guys. I tried to pick varieties that I thought were pretty generic, I guess, if you can say. Like, I didn't want to pick anything specialty that, you might not be familiar with or comfortable with. So I hope that you find something in those seeds that you're excited to grow. Now, the seed provider in my gardener, that's in your area, that's in Michigan. And I have purchased his seeds before. His name is Luke. It's a small family-owned seed provider. And I have a really good germination, even down here in the South, with his seeds. So I think these should work really well for you. Now remember, in our garden, we want to have sort of a holistic approach. We want to have a good variety of course, the things we're going to eat, like the fruity vegetables, our root vegetables, our root crops, our herbs, and our seeds. If you get that far, if you start to grow like sunflower seeds, you could harvest those if you start to grow sunflowers, you could harvest them for sunflower seeds. I've done that. I had a big bag of sunflower seeds I harvested. I was just rummaging through. But anyway, and then of course your herbs and your flowers. So you want to pick a good variety of crops to go into your garden, because that's going to allow for a good versatility in like the microorganisms that will be growing also in your garden. Remember, we always want to focus on soil health. What you get on the outside of the earth is direct reflection of that you can't see, what's under the earth. So we really want to cultivate in an environment where all the bugs are welcome, all the friendly bugs are welcome, and those friendly bugs will usually take care of the not so friendly bugs. So you have something called a beneficial insect, which are like your butterflies, your bees, ladybugs, right? Lizards. Those are beneficial insects, and they take care of the other things that are not so beneficial. Even spiders, certain garden spiders can be beneficial in your garden. So just keep that in mind. That's why we grow a variety of crops, because we want to keep a very balanced ecosystem in our garden. So let's take a look at those seed packets. I will start with the tomatoes. So you should have a slicer tomato, which is a large tomato, and a smaller tomato. This 42-day tomato, it says it is determinate, and the Kauai, I'm gonna butcher that. This one is an indeterminate tomato. Now, we didn't talk about the difference between determinate and indeterminate tomatoes, and I think I had even another one, yeah. And here we have a cherry. So actually, I hope you have all three of these. I believe I ordered all three of these for you guys. I tried to order myself a set of the same seeds that I ordered for you guys, because I wanted to see how they went. I was going to also grow some of these things. Hold on one second. I was looking at my receipt. But then I also ordered me some things on the side, like coffee. I ordered me some coffee seeds with y'all's seed order. Okay, so let me see. Yes, you guys did get the Kauai tomato. And you guys also got the 42-day tomato, but you did not get the Bing cherry tomato. So scratch that. Y'all got these two. They're only $2. They're $2, okay? You could just go crazy on his website. Which is what I did. Y'all should see all these seeds that I got. I don't need any more seeds. Anyway, ladies, so the Kauai, I think that's how you pronounce that. This would be like what I consider a slicer tomato. It's a little bit larger tomato. And the 42-day tomato it looked a little smaller to me. Maybe not a cherry size, but maybe a grape size. We'll see. We'll see. So the difference between determinate and indeterminate and determinate, it's just like it sounds. A determinate tomato will grow for a determined amount of time. Determinate tomatoes will produce all of their fruit at once, and then they're done. You may get a second flush. Sometimes you may, depending on your growing season. But I feel like you guys have a short growing season there in Michigan. That's why I selected that 42-day tomato, and then also the dwarf indeterminate. This is a dwarf indeterminate, which means it's going to be a smaller growing habit. And then for my north of Houston lady, of course, you probably could be able to grow the same things that we grow here in Warren. So a determinate tomato will grow for a determined amount of time, push out all of its fruit, and then it's done. Whereas an indeterminate tomato will grow for an indeterminate amount of time. It will continue to push and push and push. Now, what I find with the indeterminate tomatoes is that they grow slower, and they don't put off fruit as regular. So usually when I have a variety of an indeterminate tomato, I like to grow multiple of those, because you may only be harvesting a handful of tomatoes at a time. And if you're trying to preserve them, maybe dehydrate them for a little snack on your salad, or make sauce with it, like you need pounds and pounds of produce, really. So I would recommend for the indeterminate variety, depending on what you want to do with it, you may want to grow multiple of these. And there's usually like 10 seeds in the packet. I don't think you want to start 10 plants. Don't start all the seeds. And I I'll have to show you guys, if you've never planted a seed, like literally, how to do that. So the 42-day, let's see here, one of the world's earliest tomatoes with an excellent flavor. Most early tomatoes originate from cooler climates. The 42-day tomato is believed to have come from Mexico. Interesting. Okay. So that's the difference between determinate and indeterminate. Move that rack out of my view. So what we want to do now that we have tomato listed on our list in our garden planner is we want to look at the back of the seed packet. In the back of the seed packet, it will tell us that we want to start indoors 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost, okay? Then it tells us how many days to germinate. So when should we see that little seedling peeking up through the soil? And then we have 42 days until maturity. So that means you should be able to start harvesting 42 days after you plant this seed. That's pretty quick. The other one is 95 days. Yeah, this almost cuts it in half. So I find it interesting that you want to start the 42-day tomato 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost. And you also want to start the Kawhi tomato 6 to 8 weeks before last frost. It seems like you would want to wait to start the 42-day tomato because tomato plants get big really quickly. And I have video specifically talking about tomatoes because there are some, especially dealing with like indeterminate tomatoes, there's some little tricks that you can do to get a better harvest. But nevertheless, what we're going to do with this information in our garden planner is determine when exactly we need to start these seeds. All right. So let's zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so we are talking about the tomato. And so we have this 42-day tomato. So what we could even do is come through here and specify like which variety you want to grow here. So you could even put like in parenthesis 42-day or, you know, whatever would make sense to you right here. And then for the other tomato variety, just come down and create another line for that one. Okay. So we know that according to the seed packet, it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost that we need to start these seeds, right? So looking at your last frost date of March 18th, we're going to just flip back a couple pages here in our planner to our calendar. Okay. Let me make sure you can see that. Here we go. Okay, I went back and watched that little portion of the video and realized that the camera did not catch March. So basically what we're doing is from our average last frost of the season, we're counting back. And I just use the same day of the week. So for March, the 25th would be kind of like our go day. So then 1, 2, 3, moving over to February, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then moving over to January, 8. And then, you know, you always double check your measurements, so to speak. So if the 28th is the last week that we need to start seeds, that would be the 28th, then the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this would be when those seedlings would get planted, if that's their time frame. So hope that makes sense. So here's my little sticky note from 2024 that I used, just kind of like a little cheat sheet. And so let me show you how I did this. We'll just get another sticky note here. I hope all of this is still in the view. Okay, looks like it is. So, what is 9 weeks from my average last frost? Well, we know 8 weeks was January 28th. So 9 weeks is going to be January 21st. And look at that. It's the same from last year. I don't know if it's the same the whole year, but or the whole, 9-week period. And some seeds would even be like 12 weeks, you might see. Like some herbs you really have to do early on. But anyway, 9 weeks out is going to be January 21st, 25. Okay. So then we just continue that down. This is like my little cheat sheet. I'll do 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 6 weeks. All right, so we've gotten that all written down. This is our little cheat sheet that we'll use as we fill out the rest of our garden planner here. So for the tomato, specifically that 42-day tomato, it says we want to start indoors 6 to 8 weeks before last frost, okay? And so our 6 to 8 week period is going, for me here, is going to be February. Actually, let's do we want to do 6 to 8 or 8 to? Yeah, we can do, sorry. We can do February 11th, 25. Actually, I probably should have done it backward. Probably will make more sense if I wrote the 8 weeks first, like our window. Yeah, let's do that. So our window would be January 28 to February 11th. It's kind of messy. I hate that, but yeah, that makes more sense. So I have a window of when I need to start these seeds. And then I could even put here, like off to the side, just a little note, 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. 6 to 8 weeks before the average last frost. So that means that average last frost. So that means that before this date in the spring, when we have our last frost for the spring season, I need to have these seedlings already growing in my grow shed or my tent or whatever you have, a little closet in your house, so that they'll be ready to go outside when the weather is ready to welcome it. Okay, let's do another one. So I do have some sunflowers, and this particular sunflower is just a show sunflower. You wouldn't eat the sunflower seeds on here, I don't believe. And you're going to start these indoors 2 to 3 weeks before last frost. Now, here's something that is pretty unique about. Oh gosh, you weren't seeing any of that. I apologize. I'm getting the hang of it, okay? Well, let me show you something. Hold on, let me back up. All right, I wanted to show you the back of the sunflower seed. Let me zoom in again. It has an additional line here, direct sow. So you can start the seeds indoors 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost, and or you can directly sow them, like actually put the seed directly into your garden. Okay? Which is, always fun when you have things popping up. I always try to put a plant tag when I direct sow, because I will forget that I planted something, and I'll either plant something there again, or I'll pick it thinking it's a weed. Anyway, so let's just say we want to start them indoors for the sake of the exercise on how we're going to use our last average frost date to determine when these need to get started. So this says 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost. It won't. There we go. Focus. Okay. So for me here in Texas, my average last frost is the 18th, but we push it back additional week. And then all we're going to do is just count back 2 to 3 weeks. So 1, 2, 3. Go the other way. 1, 2, 3. So I could start my seeds, if I want to start seeds, as early as March 4th. But then I could also, I have all of this time here, all of these weeks. So I could start some March 4th, if I want some to be a little bit further along. And then I could start some the following week, who would be a week behind those. And then I could start some the following week, which would be a week behind those two, and then so on and so forth. You can keep going. Now, when you plant like that, that's called succession planting. And flower farmers in particular love to succession plant, because they don't want all their flowers coming in at one time. They want to have flowers throughout the season. So they will start to, according to the seed packet, they will start seeds and start dropping seeds in their gardens and their growing areas to give them abundance throughout the season. And so that's called succession planting, like I said. And that's when you want things to continually keep coming in. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And then, of course, back on your list here, you want to put the sunflower dates. So I have a sunflower here, and then I'll go ahead and write in those dates that we said. All right, so what you're gonna do is just go through all of your seed packets and start to write down all of those dates, so you will be able to know when you need to start those seeds. In your envelopes with your seeds, I sent you a label sheet, a sheet of labels. And this is my method to the madness, as I say, on how I organize all of my seeds. Because I have a lot of seeds, and you will have a lot of seeds as well the more you grow in the garden. See what I did there? But let me show you what that is. All right, I got these envelopes from Wally World, and I like them because they're color-coded. You don't necessarily need color-coded envelopes for the system to work. You do need envelopes though. And what we do is we take those labels and just stick them on your envelope, okay? And it has the same type of time frame that your seeds have, your seed packets. So, for example, this one is herbs, 8 to 10 weeks before last frost. Those dates that you wrote down in your journal, write down on your label for date range, and also the varieties. And that's so you'll know what's in your envelope. So then after you go through and you have determined when you need to plant these sunflowers, either direct sow or start the seeds, drop them in the envelope. The envelope has all of our, like I said, all of our major time frames here: 8 to 10 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, 2 weeks before last frost. And then I even have I skipped a few. excuse me, the 10 to 12. I guess I didn't have any, so I took it out. But then the envelope that says now, usually like I put that at the end. So as I'm going through week by week, when I get to now, it's now. I also use now for like if I'm going out to the garden to plant, I'll pull this now envelope out and take the seeds from its main envelope and put it in there, because I may have multiple of the nows that I need to plant now. Excuse me. So that is the envelope system. You know, I grew up, my mom taught us how to like budget and manage our finances using the envelope system, where you take your bills and you put it in the envelope, and then you take the money, the cash or the check and put it into the envelope system, so that you would know how much money you had for gas and groceries and, you know, those things that you didn't necessarily get a bill for. So anyway, I took that same sort of methodology and developed this this system here, and I hope it helps, and I hope it works for you. I was originally just doing everything by hand. I was just writing on my envelopes. I was trying to look for some to show you. I was just write on them. You know, all of these envelopes are, you know, just sort of my my evolution, I guess, through gardening and just kind of figuring this out. But anyway, it's just to help you stay organized. And that big clear sleeve that you have in the back of your garden planner, you can stick your seed packets and your envelopes in that. And I really advise to do that, because if you're outside, it's highly likely that you will leave your seeds outside. And of course, that will be the one day that it rains, or a bird or a squirrel or something will inevitably find the gift that you left them in the garden. So anyway, that's what that is for. Use that to store your seeds when you go outside. All right, let's talk about actually, it's time to plant the seed. Now, I love these little solo cups. I recycle them from parties. People just throw them away, and I'm like, no, that's my garden planter. Use these. There's no shame in that. You could even use the little smaller ones if you'd like, if you don't want to use so much soil. Or you could cut these, okay? You do want to drill or like puncture a hole in the bottom of these. I use my drill. I'll just show you real quick. All right, so I have just a regular drill, and it has the bit in it for making pilot holes. And these come in different sizes. It doesn't really matter. Trying to get a stack of them. I recommend you do a stack of them at a time. And then you just get your drill. I don't recommend you do this in your hand, but I'm trying to show you in the video. It would be ideal for you to set this down. But then, yeah, make sure my drill is going the right way. Just like that. You just want to put a hole in it for drainage. And what some folks will do is take the one that has the hole and put that in another cup, so that when you water it, you catch the water here. Especially if you're indoors, you don't want to make a mess. It's unnecessary. So you could do that. Just double up. And then it also will become self-watering. Warming up some more tea. It will become self-watering. But you don't want to, I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of like little nuances. I would recommend water your seedlings very thoroughly when you first plant the seed. Let it drain maybe 10 minutes. Then take the water, dump it or collect it. You can always reuse it if it's not gross, so that you don't have a waterlogged soil. if you have a waterlogged soil, that could rot the seed and then you won't get anything. So I would recommend for now, while you're waiting for that seedling to come through the earth and also develop its root system, don't let it sit in water. Water it very thoroughly, and you know it's thorough because the water will start to come out, will start to come in here, right? So you'll pour the water in the top part, wait about 10 minutes, let all that water go through, drain it off a little bit, just kind of shake off the excess if you have. The water in the cup, pour it off, and then put that cup back. Okay, now I have this seed starting mix here. You don't have to purchase this seed starting mix. This was just what I used when I was just getting started. The organic one is new. I've only seen this maybe the past couple years. They have another one. I think they sell it at Walmart and Lowe's, I think. So you could get the non-organic one. You don't have to get the organic one. I saw it, and that's what they had available. I must have been, I don't know where I was. I picked this up. Actually, I might have picked this up in Lowe's. I might have picked this up at Lowe's. But Lowe's, Home Depot, I'm not really sure. Other parts of the country, I'm pretty sure they have those big box stores, but you may have some local hardware stores. You could pick up a seed starting mix. Now, the benefit to a seed starting mix is it's very airy. It's very loose. It's very airy. And it's going to allow for those little tiny roots on your little baby seedlings to find their way to the water. Okay, and that's ultimately, you know, what they want. They want to be to pull up the nutrition from the soil, take on water if they need to, and not have to hit rocks and big chunks of, you know, bark and things like that. Now, I've seen where people don't use seed starting mix, and that's perfectly fine. Actually, when I first got started, I didn't know any better, and I used a potting soil. And so you can use a potting soil, you can use a garden soil, but you want to make sure that for the best success for your seedlings, that you remove any of those large pieces of, like I said, peat moss, bark, just rocks, the things that may that may inhibit the root system of those seedlings. I will even, when I make a big, because I make huge quantities of seed starting mix, I will use a big, like a cubic of peat moss as well as vermiculite. Now the ratio that I use, peat moss to vermiculite, is 2 to 1. So 2 parts of vermiculite, 2 parts of peat moss to 1 part of vermiculite. Now this is vermiculite. And I get this from Lowe's. I haven't been able to find it at Home Depot. And this is what it looks like. Okay, it's very fine. I think some people use this in their cat litter. It helps retain moisture. Okay, and it even says here, excellent for seed starting and improving moisture and nutrient retention. So we'll add vermiculite to keep the peat moss really airy and keep the peat moss mixture from getting too dry. The peat moss will like absorb the water super quick, and so to sort of balance that out, we add the vermiculite so that you're not constantly watering and that the mixture is able to maintain moisture. So what you want to do, depending on what you decide to go with, whether it is making your own seed starting mix or using a potting mix or whatever you want to, just get some native dirt from your backyard. Nothing wrong with that. You're going to put it in your cup here. And what I usually say is, depending on how big the seed is, will determine how many seeds you can put in that particular area and how big the seedling is going to get. And that's really going to take experience. I would say at least in a cup, if you're going to go with the solo cups, you could probably at least drop like 3 seeds in the cup. And so, you know, you have like the sunflower seed. They're pretty big seeds. Okay. So this is the sunflower seed. Okay. Did I drop it? That's the sunflower seeds. I mean, it's tiny, but in the realm of seeds, it's a pretty decent sized seed. It's not too tiny. Okay. Okay. So we've got the seed starting mix in our cup here, and you know, like I said, if you don't want to use that much soil, it's fine. You could cut the cup, or you could use it like a potting mix or something at the bottom of the cup, like halfway down, and then just do the top layer with the potting mix, with the seed starting mix. Okay, so you can see the seed starting mix is really fluffy and airy, and I'm a gardener and I love to put my hands in the dirt, so anyway, what you're gonna do is get your seeds, and we'll do 3. Okay, we'll do 3 seeds here, and there's no scientific formula to dropping the seeds. Okay, you want them high enough in the cup so that when they do peek through, they can access the sunlight. That's what they're reaching. So a seed will grow both ways, right? It will grow gravitropically, it will grow down, and then it will grow towards the sun, right? Phototropically. It's trying to reach the sun, and then it will go towards gravity. So they grow at the same time in both ways, but we only see what peeks through the earth. Actually, I'm gonna put a little bit more soil in here. Okay, so I'll put a little bit more soil in here, and all we're gonna do, you can use what they call a dibbler or a pin top. You don't have to go out and buy all this fancy stuff. This is an old chopstick. My other one broke in the dishwasher, so I was like, okay, I can use that in the garden. I give everything a purpose in the garden. So we're just gonna kind of fluff it up just a little bit. And you're just gonna make just a little indentation. You want your little indentation to be about as deep as the seed is as wide. So for this seed here, gonna drop her in there. You can see she's right there. She's right there. And then we're just gonna lightly cover her up. And then we'll do another one. Just gonna drop her in there. It's okay. You can do this. This is how you plant a seed. You literally just stick her in the dirt. Trust me, the seed wants to grow. She wants to grow. That's what she was designed for. And there's no greater blessing on her little seed life than to do what she was designed for, okay? And then the seeds, most seeds will want to come in contact with the soil, so we'll just very lightly press it down. Okay, the good thing about these solo cups is you can write on them. So we'll just write, today is the 12th, and we'll just write sunflower. I personally like to write the date that I plant things. It's not necessary. I just think it's good for reference. Okay. Or if you don't want to write on your cups, because remember, you want to write on the cup that you actually planted in, not your outer cup. This is like a water cup. And if you don't want to write on the cup, you can use those plant tags. Okay, so same thing, just write the date. That's my preference. If you don't want to write the date, you can just write the name of what it is, put it in there, and then all that's left is to water it. and set it to the side. Okay, and so we're just going to water it really thoroughly. Okay. It's okay if it kind of bubbles up a little bit. It'll settle down. It'll settle down. So we're just going to set that to the side. And the hole we have in the bottom that I put, it was kind of small. So this is going to take a while for the water to go down. But that's okay because the soil will absorb as much as moisture as it can if it doesn't just like rush straight through to the bottom. So there's nothing wrong with that. While we let that settle, and I'll come back and show you that once it settles, let me just share with you that the seed has all of the nutrients that it needs to grow. Okay, you don't have to worry about fertilizing or adding any type of amendments to your soil. The main thing with your seed starting soil, you want it to stay sterile. Seed starting mix comes from the manufacturer sterile, which means it doesn't have anything growing in it. But it also doesn't have anything growing in it. So there's no amendments. There aren't any additives. There isn't anything that's going to help your seed, you know, in its beginning stages. It doesn't help a seed to fertilize or to add any type of additional fertilizer to the seed while it's trying to be born, if you will, or to germinate is the botanical term. So while the seed is germinating, while it's developing, it has everything it needs on the inside of that seed. Come on, somebody. I can always get excited when I think about that because on a personal level, we try to add so much. We try to do so much, but everything we need is on the inside of us. Okay. So, just remember that, okay? You're going to see a lot of marketing and gimmicks to like help you fertilize your seed. You don't need all that. Now, when the seed peeks through, she's going to be closed. She's going to be closed like this. And then she's going to open. She's going to open her two beginning seeds, or what we call cotyledon, okay? I had to look up how to spell it because I know I'm butchering the pronunciation. It's Cotyledon, cotyledon, okay? Now the cotyledon will have all of the necessary nutrients and vitamins and nourishment that seedling will need to get it started, okay? You don't want to start fertilizing your seedlings really until they've put on some true leaves. So the cotyledon are the baby leaves, but they're not the first true leaves. The cotyledons are not the first true leaves. When the first true set of leaves come on, especially you see these in tomato plants and pepper plants, then you would probably want to maybe start adding a little fertilizer. The only fertilizers that I use are, they're animal based. So it would be, in this case for the seedling, it would be a very diluted fish emulsion. I have some here, okay? This is a fish emulsion. And we talked about the macronutrients of NPK. These are the three numbers here, 511. So you want something, and this whole gallon here, you dilute this. So it literally takes like 2 tablespoons to a gallon, okay? So I've had this for a while. So you don't need a lot of that stuff. And it stinks. It's fish, okay? It's rot fish. So be careful when you use it because you do not want that to get on you. But that's the only time that I probably would, maybe if I felt like they didn't look quite right for whatever reason, I might add some fish fertilizer to my seedlings. Okay, looks like she's settled. You can see the water is draining out now. It's reached the bottom of the cup. And so we'll just continue to let this drain. You might put some rocks or something in the bottom of the cup, the bottom cup, to keep that moisture off if you want. Just make sure you come through here and remove it. It's not a huge big deal. Yeah, and so this is what it looks like after we plant our seed. Yeah, that was a thumbnail there. Let me take that thumbnail. All right, so then I just poured off that excess water out of the cup. It could be reused. It doesn't have to be. You want that mix to stay as clean as possible. So any doubt, just toss it. I don't expect for this particular seedling to do much, but we're gonna set it up there on the grow rack and see what happens, because this is really too early in my climate and definitely in Michigan to be growing sunflowers, but why not? We'll see what happens. So I put our seedling, our little lone seedling, I put her up there under the grow light, so we'll see how she does. All right, ladies, that is how to plant a seed. I hope that was helpful for you. It's not hard. I promise you, you can do this. I met you. I met all three of you. You're smart enough. You're bright enough. You can do this. I wish you all the best. Let's catch up. Let's see how your seedlings are doing, and we'll have to name our little sunflower seedlings and see if they pop up, even though I know it's a little early for them. They might make it. We'll see. If you need anything, just reach out. Let me know. It's not a problem. I appreciate you. I enjoyed you, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace. All right, so what we're going to do today is uppot our tomato seedlings. And I have 2 trays of tomatoes. I started these trays on the same day that I started those pepper seeds that I did the video on, which was February 13th. So the reason why you want to uppot your tomatoes is because they like to be planted deep. And it helps establish a really strong root system, and a really strong root system means you get a lot of fruit. That's an oversimplification, but basically that's why you want to do it. You want to make sure that the tomatoes are off to a good start, and we're going to uppot them from this 50 cell tray, and I have a 32 cell tray that actually has the individual cups. And then from here, depending on our weather, these may either get uppotted again to the red solo cup, or it may go right into the garden. We'll see what the weather's doing. We still have some really cool nights in the forecast. You don't want to put your tomatoes out until you have temperatures, I would say at least above 50, 60 preferable, in the forecast for at least 14 days. You don't want your nighttime temperatures to get really low with tomatoes or your peppers, because it could stunt the growth. I think the tomatoes may be a little bit more flexible. You probably could do 50s, but I wouldn't do 50s with the peppers. The peppers are definitely warm weather. They flourish in the heat, and you can stunt the growth of the peppers if you put them in too soon. So that's why we uppot, is because in the little cell, their root system is going to get too compacted and become what they call root bound. It's when the root goes around and around and around, and it's really hard for the plant to uptake the nutrients that it needs from the soil. So we uppot it to give that root system enough room
to be a healthy plant.